Good evening and welcome to another edition of the KXCV KNWT Bearcat Coaches Show. We are broadcasting live from Carson Sports Grill in downtown Maryville, back on our Thursday evening schedule that we'll have for most of the rest of the season, the first 2 weekends or weeks of the season on Wednesdays to Bearcat football on Thursday night. I'm John Coffey alongside with Matt Tritton, and we got another good show lined up for tonight as we talk Bearcat sports. We'll hear from Northwest women's soccer coach Tracy Hoza. Couple players off of her team, Danielle Wolf and Taylor Wolf. Also, Northwest football coach Rich Wright and player off his squad, Cole Forney, will join us. And, Matt, we might even have an appearance from Bearcat tennis coach Mark Rosewell. He's got a tournament on campus this weekend. He said he might be by and say hi. So
it's always a pleasant surprise, right? Getting Rosie in.
It is. You never know where he's going to pop up. Tell you what, though, we're coming off another good week of Bearcat sports. The football team went down to Topeka last Thursday night, came back with a win against Washburn, and really a hard-fought victory for the Bearcat team.
Yeah, I think that's one that maybe some Bearcat fans look at the final score and get a little bit nervous, but I think you're going up against probably an underrated Washburn team, a strong defense, obviously. Coach Wright was preaching how physical they were going into the week, and so to come out and pull out a win like that is big. Not only a level of beating a physical team like that for your first road contest, but also on top of that, we went until the national semifinal game last year until we really saw a true tough game for Northwest Missouri State football. You wondered how they'd respond. So to get that out of the way in week 2, I think that's important for these guys, especially the younger guys that are playing, to go in and late in the season, into the playoffs, they know that they can overcome any obstacles because they had a game like that in week 2.
I think one of the keys to that game, too, we saw a lot of young guys on the defensive line that had to step up due to some injuries to the starters that came in and performed very well against a very good Washburn team.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and I think there was some nerves going in about that, too, because the collective starting defensive line had to combine one start, and that was Austin Eskew in week 1 of this season. So it was a group with not a lot of experience going into it. I think without guys like Ben Spaeth, Bobby Grunlow, and Caleb Mather up in your front four, there were some concerns of how those guys would come out and how they would play. But Coach Wright does a phenomenal job with getting these guys prepared. And I think that they see how these seniors carry themselves, and it makes it that much easier whenever they go out and do their own business. And like I said, they held a physical Washburn team in check, and that's huge for them going forward, especially the depth that you build now once you get these seniors back. You got to give them a break in a big game. You're not too worried about it because you've seen what they can do.
Yeah, obviously you want to go in full strength in a game like against Washburn, but come out with a win, you're a little bit better off because those young guys got that experience.
Yeah, it's all about getting wins but building depth at the same time, and I think that's something that we saw a lot throughout the Coach Churchman era of even on some of those wins that you're getting by a big margin, you're getting some important playing time there. Well, it continues here with Adam Dorwell as head coach, now with Rich Wright as head coach. Not only the wide point spread wins, those guys getting meaningful reps, but they're getting meaningful reps in a game that you win by 6 on the road. So it's about building depth, and this is only going to benefit them down the road.
It's going to be another big weekend of activity with Northwest Fall Sports. The volleyball team already on the road. They're over in Quincy, Illinois, competing in a tournament hosted by Quincy University. You've got soccer, which will be down in St. Joe tomorrow as they face Missouri Western, then back home Sunday with Central Missouri. Oddly enough, those games won't count on the conference schedule. They'll play them again later where it does count on the conference schedule, and Tracy will talk more about that a little bit later. Of course, Bearcat football on the road to Kearney. You've got tennis on campus. It's going to be a very busy weekend coming up.
Busy week, an exciting week. We're trying to track everything and see what's going on with everybody. Volleyball bounced back in a big way last week. Got a few wins on the tournament there, and so excited to see what they can do. As you mentioned, already on the road. This is going to be an interesting week for soccer too, going up against 24th ranked Missouri Western, number 4th ranked Central Missouri as well. And like you mentioned, you get a taste of those teams now. You kind of get that experience of playing some top-ranked teams. And then you know what? Depending on, no matter what the outcome is, you get to face them down the road again too. So that'll be good, especially for some of these younger players to get in some of those big environments and find out how to play in those games. And tennis, you got Coach Rosie. You know it's always going to come out and be a competitive, successful team. And then exciting, too, it's tough to see the Bearcat football team on the road once again, but you want to see them go out there, get a big win against UNK before coming back home next weekend.
When we come back, we'll talk with the head coach of the Northwest soccer team, Tracy Hoza. That's coming up right after this timeout on the KXCV KNWT Bearcat Coaches Show.
welcome back into the Bearcat Coaches Show here on KXCV KRNW, live from the Carson Sports Grill. Matt Tritton now being joined by the Northwest Missouri State head soccer coach, Tracy Hoza. And, Coach, first appearance of the year. Glad to have you on. Just what you want, a little bit of radio, a little bit of camera action as well.
Lovely. Glad I put makeup on for today. Just came home from practice and did a quick wipe, and now we're here. But
just as long as you get here, that's all we care about.
Exactly.
So we're great to, it's great to have you here. And 1-1 on the season. Before we dive too much into previous game action, what you have coming up as well. 15 seasons now as a Bearcat. What's that mean? Can you believe? Time's flowing pretty fast, hasn't it?
It does fly, and I think it gets even quicker every year as you go on. But what does it mean? You know, you look at the video that Andrew Sherry did last night, and it's a family. It's just walking back into work today. I was like, my arm was just tired because I was lifting it every time. But then I thought about how thankful are you to be in a place like this.
Definitely. And you know, I think at times the once a Bearcat, always a Bearcat thing for people that aren't around here, they kind of wave it off, don't really care much about it. But if you're actually at Northwest, student, athlete, coach, it means a whole lot.
I think it's every student, and even, you know, Dr. Matt Baker is down there. He's probably not listening, but he was my first neighbor, and you just become friends straight away. And you know, I didn't know at the time that he worked at Northwest, and you know, it's just the whole town that embraces, and it embraces the culture, and it embraces athletics, and you know, it embraces music. It embraces everything. It's what you do. We embrace things.
15 years is a long time. A lot of things have changed throughout Maryville. The recruiting trail, have things changed a little bit, the way you talk with players, acquire players, and just the way trends kind of change over the years too?
Oh, absolutely. You look at Facebook, you look at Twitter, and you look at texting, and those are the things that the athletes are using, and those are the things that we used to. You know, when I was recruited, we didn't have a phone in my house. I had to go to my sister's house, and I had to bike up 3 miles and set a time 3 weeks in advance. I'll see you in this day, I'll call you.
How did you get hold of friends? Can't call them? Can't text them?
They live next door, or, you know, you met them downtown. You walked downtown and said, hey, what are you doing? Okay, I'll see you at this time. That's what you did. You actually did something in person.
Yeah.
But a lot of it now is not in person. A lot of it is on the internet and on text and on Twitter and emails too. I think we've gone a little bit away from emails, that texting is the way to go. That's a big thing with the recruiting trail.
And it has changed a lot. It's much different, that's to say the least. But we're talking Bearcat soccer with Northwest Missouri State head coach Tracy Hoza. Started the year off with a 2-1 win over Sioux Falls. Picked up both of those goals in the second half. Taylor Wolf, Molly Holtman picking up both of those, a freshman and a sophomore. And just rewinding back to the first match, seeing a couple underclassmen come in and take on a big role like that and put the ball in the back of the net. What was that like for you to see your team come away with a win like that and to kind of get a glimpse into the future of those two?
To get a win was great, and then you look at what players are doing. You know, you have a freshman like Taylor scoring and very composed and confident in front of the ball, and you have Molly, who actually still is technically a freshman, and you're very happy and proud of Molly coming off of a year, having to redshirt that year and work hard in the spring. What we looked at was they both came off the bench, so their attitude off the bench was to go and do better. And that's what we enjoyed seeing, that, and the camaraderie within the team to see players coming off the bench and doing better and encouraging them to do better.
You spoke on this before too, but those are two players that are also little sisters on the team. What was the dynamic like too of seeing Danielle and Cassie react to Taylor and Molly come up with such big goals?
They were absolutely thrilled. You know, just we saw them jump up and just beaming with each other, and they were very proud of each other. And because sometimes there can be jealousy, and there can be jealousy within teams and jealousy with sisters, but they were absolutely proud of each other, and they know that they have each other's back, and that was, I think, that's something that's very admirable.
Whenever you go in to recruit players and you see an older sister come out and play well, and there's a younger sister coming up, you know she's going to be pretty good. What's the dynamic of recruiting the younger sister? Do you talk to the older sister and make sure there's no bad blood or anything to where you'd want to bring the second one in too?
You know, it's like everything else. You have to adapt and see. Whether or not the sisters didn't get along wouldn't have been my reason not to bring someone on board, because yes, opinions are important, but also people need a chance. And just because, you know, I have 7 sisters, you know, I actually get along with all of them, but I know there's 2 or 3 that they don't get along at all. But, you know, that never came across. They actually were very supportive. Danny was very supportive of Taylor, and Cassie was very supportive of Molly. And we see that in games too and in practice. So we got a sense of they supported each other. And, you know, they're not the only sisters. They're the sisters that actually played at the same time. We've had Kelly and Krista Oberly, and we currently have Ashton Didovic, and we had Jackie, who was a captain back in 2008, I think. So we've had sisters, but I think we've had sisters play, and we don't think we've had 4 on the same team.
Well, fast forwarding up after the win over Sioux Falls, come back with the match against Rockhurst, a 3-1 loss. That one starts out, you get a goal from Danielle in the second half. You go up 1-0, defensively playing good. Whenever you see Rockhurst come up, what changed defensively there in that second half? They were able to overcome Northwest.
I think we got in an attacking mode. We actually held possession quite well. And then what we always say as coaches is that, you know, we don't pinpoint one mistake. Goals are scored when 5 mistakes happen, and you can trace all of those back. And it was a lack of, we didn't keep our composure within the defensive side of pressure and cover and balance. And we started ball watching instead of slowing the ball down, and then we regroup and we regather. And if we don't slow the ball down, we don't slow the match down on the defensive side, everything will happen too quick. So what we need to do is slow the ball down, and then we can cover and we can balance and we can assess the situation.
All right, Coach. Missouri Western on Friday, Central Missouri on Sunday. Good luck. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
When we come back, we'll turn our attention to football. Rich Wright, the head coach of the Northwest football team, is with us. We'll talk with Rich right after this timeout on the KXCV KRNW Bearcat Coaches Show. Welcome back to the KXCV KRNW Bearcat Coaches Show. We are broadcasting live from Carson Sports Grill in downtown Maryville. Time now to turn our attention to football, and Rich Wright joins us, the head coach of the Northwest football team. And Rich, coming off a nice road win this past Thursday night down in Topeka against Washburn.
Yeah, it was a hard-fought win, but we were able to endure. We did some really good things, and then also had some things that we needed to get corrected this week in practice. So, was happy with our kids' effort and the way we played, but there are some mistakes that have to be fixed.
Now, it's been a while since Northwest has had an MIAA game, especially early in the season, that it's take 4 quarters to grind out. Is that a positive going forward for your team to have to go through that experience and build off of it?
I think it is. You know, again, it's just one of those things that's all a part of that growing process. It's we've got a lot of new kids. We've got a lot of kids that, you know, you talk to them about the MIAA and what it's like. You talk to them about that you're going to get everybody's best shot, and then you have to go experience it. And oftentimes that happens on the road. And it was a different kind of game. It was a different game than the Emporia State game. And so, you know, again, having to change your style a little bit and play a different type of team, and all those things are good lessons, particularly when you can come out with a win.
Well, you talk about a different type of game. It's not often you go into the locker room at halftime with a 5-0 game.
Yeah, I felt like it was a baseball score. So.
And the way that game started out, too, seemed to set the tone a little bit. Offensively, we had a nice drive down, got down on the 1-yard line, just couldn't punch it in. And then a safety made it a 2-0 game right off the bat there. How did that sequence of things maybe change the complexion of the game early in that contest? You
know, the one thing that you got to look at, or at least that I look at as a head football coach, is our offense is moving the football. We had over 400 yards offense. And you know, that's a pretty good day at the office. And so, if you continue to, foster some positive energy with those kids, sooner or later that's going to convert into points. And you just got to be a little bit patient. Everybody's trying to find their roles and find their identities a little bit on that side of the ball. And you can see as adjustments get made, they start to do some of those things. And defensively, we're used to those. We're used to being in those situations. They drove the ball, they got it on a long porch, and we were able to convert and get the safety. And once we get there, we feel like we're in control of the football game, and that's, kind of where we want to be.
You have a team backed up to 1-2 yard line, kind of like that. You have a general idea of what they're going to be coming at you with. You like your odds of winning that battle?
I do. It's usually either one of two things. They're either going to go play action and try and take a poke deep to get themselves out of there, or they're going to be conservative and run the football. And, with the way that Washburn, what we had seen the previous week, we felt like they were going to be conservative and run the football, so we kind of pinned our ears back and came after them.
Offensively, I think another thing you have to feel good about is no turnovers on offense again.
Yeah, we may not be getting the production we want from a point total right now, but Zach's doing a great job of taking care of the ball. Our backs and receivers are doing a good job taking care of the ball. They're not putting us in bad situations to play from defensively, and we'll start to figure it out. I hate to try and compare teams and seasons because you can't. They're all each their own individual entity, but in a lot of ways, the first couple games reminds me of 2015. It really does, where we had, we came off that 14 team where we had a lot of veteran leadership, and then we turned into 15. We only had 6 seniors. We had a lot of new guys playing, and it took some time for the offense to kind of gel and get to the direction that they wanted to go. But, I'm encouraged by the fact that we're doing so many good things.
And whenever you look at what Zach did, comes out 30 of 40 passing, 238 yards, a touchdown. John mentioned didn't turn the ball over, and he's thrown it at a pretty good clip to this point, 72.7% completion percentage, I should say, 7th in the nation. You got a guy like that can take some shots deep. He's not turning the ball over. Makes it feel good. You have those high percentage passes coming out.
It really does. I mean, again, you start talking about the statistics, and it's funny. I get to the post game, and if we don't, you don't win by 35 points, everybody's like, "What's wrong?" He did some really good things, and there's some stuff that we can build off of, and just moving forward each week, he'll start to gain more confidence. Early in the season, it's hard. And that's not an excuse. It just is, because you aren't really sure what defenses are going to do to you yet. As you get going in the season, the leopard tends to show its spots a little bit more, and there's less and less that they can hide. And we were surprised by as much 30 as Washburn played in the first half. And once we made some adjustments, at halftime, we were able to change things around.
Yeah, it seemed like you were able to change things pretty quickly into the third quarter too, when you got out there and got some things going with those adjustments.
Yeah, they did. They put the ball on the perimeter a little bit more and got things out in space where we feel like we have good matchups, and we did against Washburn, trying to put their guys one-on-one against our skill people, and we were able to hurt them. The other piece is that, I think sometimes people forget that running the football is a little bit like, a boxing match and getting punched in the body. It does, the damage doesn't show up in the first or second round. It shows up in the later rounds. And you saw Cameron break off a long run. You saw Grove break off a long run. So sometimes that cumulative effect and controlling the football, and there's something to be said for that too.
Also want to ask you about your football playing guest that we have tonight, Cole Forney, coming up after you here in a moment. What's it like seeing him get back out on the field, and what's he bringing to the table, especially a guy that knew he wouldn't be active for the first couple weeks but still voted a captain?
It was it's just one of those really neat stories. I was there right after it happened, and to watch the progress that kid's made. I said it in a press conference a couple weeks ago, but it's really more than anything a testament to the human spirit. What that kid's been through and what that kid's endured, and was told that there was no way, that it was never going to happen again. And, just believing in yourself and being focused and determined. And for him to make it all the way back to this point, is a win for everybody, and it just shows what a lot of hard work and grit and determination can do. And the kid is, I think for him, the win is just to get out there and play. And he wants to go back out and play at a high level, and he's got a lot of expectations of himself. And, just to watch him over the course of camp go from, going in one practice and getting done with the first practice, and boy, I thought he was, he's, oh my gosh, I'm so sore, and just watching him progress now, it's just been nothing short of a miracle, and we're all really proud of him. We're all rooting for him, and I can't wait to get him back out there on the field.
One final question for you before we let you go. Packing-wise, are you packed for this weekend's trip?
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to try and make sure I pack my bag this week and not have to do things with the Tri-State guys. The nice part is I'm staying overnight, so hopefully I'll identify that I don't have my stuff before kickoff this week. But, yeah, my wife, Tucker Peavy, who's our equipment guy, does an awesome job. And after the game, I got home. The first thing my wife said to me was, maybe you should, because we have a 12th man that we always pack for the players, because invariably they always forget something. She was like, maybe Tucker ought to pack a 12th man for you, and at least have some sweats and a baseball hat for you if you forget your stuff. And I guess I have to pay attention to my own words and make sure I take care of the details this week.
You might explain for those that maybe missed our post game on Thursday night the whole story about.
Sure, I love to tell stories. So, I had a bunch of brand new defensive linemen that were playing for the first time, and I was going to make sure I had those guys right. We were going to go down there in Washburn, and we were going to execute really well. So we had literally 5 walkthroughs on Friday, or on Friday it would have been Wednesday, and then game day Thursday. We left here on Thursday rather than spending the night because it was a night game. And I got up that morning, and I had 2 walkthroughs with the defensive line, and I went to pregame, and I went back outside and had another walkthrough with the defensive line, and I went upstairs and grabbed my shoulder bag, and I jumped on the bus, and away we went. And we went to the Legends, and we had lunch, and I had another walkthrough with the defensive line, and then we got to the stadium, and I stood up, and I always carry my bag. I don't put my bag underneath. I put it up top with me, and I stood up, and I was like, holy cow. All I got here is a shoulder bag, and I'm in shorts and flip-flops like I am right now. I'm pretty superstitious, and this is what I wear. I had no clothes, and I knew exactly where they were. They were locked in my truck, and all the keys were with me. There were no keys anywhere, so I called the guys at Tri-State, and it was Stephen and Kenny jumped in a truck and came down, and were able to get my truck unlocked and set alarms off all over the place and had the track team on high alert. And Amy Floor picked up my bags and actually delivered them to the game. And up until that point, I had borrowed a pair of sweatpants from a graduate assistant, a pair of shoes from Jack Richards, and borrowed Nick Hess's red hat. And by the third play of the game, I turned around and Tucker had my bag sitting in front of me. So I grabbed my red hat and grabbed a lanyard. And, I think I put on my black shoes and grabbed a Buckeye, and then I was good to go.
All right, Rich, thanks a lot for being with us, and we'll talk to you before the game on Saturday.
Sounds great.
Matt, before we send things off for another show here, we need to say hi to a person who's in the crowd here. Good to see Bob Severson back with us here, back in Maryville. And, Bob, good to have you here, and hope you get well quick. So,
all right.
And now we've got football coming up this weekend. Bearcats and Nebraska Kearney down over in Kearney. 2 o'clock kickoff. Ought to be a heck of a matchup.
Looking forward to it. And Bearcats obviously coming off a tough win against Washburn, while UNK kind of got beat up by Emporia State. So it'll be interesting to see how the Lopers respond on their home field. And, man, the Bearcats back-to-back road games. So it'll be nice to get this one out of the way, then see him come back home for family weekend. Again,
at 2 o'clock kickoff. We'll have the broadcast beginning at 1 o'clock with Bearcat Game Day on Saturday from Kearney, Nebraska. Thanks to everyone who helped with our broadcast tonight. Ryan Elliott, along with Jenny James, behind the scenes helping make things work here. For Matt Trenton, I'm John Coffey, and so long from Carson Sports Grill in downtown Maryville.